longer attracted to me after my accident in which I lost my leg. We had an agreement that I could see my son anytime I wanted, but he wouldn't be doing any overnight visits unless or until I had a motel or apartment. At the time, my RV had no heat and the doors didn't lock, and I didn't feel comfortable with him sleeping there. Shortly after his 7th birthday, he called me super upset, crying that he didn't want to be there anymore. He told me that his mom's boyfriend's kids were making fun of him for asking about going to therapy. He said he only told mom and that she must have told the whole house. When I brought up his therapy, my ex dismissed the idea entirely, saying there's no reason why a 7-year-old needs a psychiatrist to pump him up with drugs. I told her he doesn't need medication, but having someone to talk to about things would be beneficial. Her exact words were, "Since you don't have any money, it might be hard to grasp that those of us who do don't want to waste it on problems that are imaginary. Anything involving our son, she uses the fact that she is a primary caretaker with money, and I need to just go along with whatever she says." I was completely unaware that her boyfriend and kids moved in. The boys took over my son's room and threw away his clothes that were on the floor, which were only on the floor because they took his dresser. They also played this game where one of the boys puts a pillow over his head and farts, and when he tries to get up from under the pillow, boys both sit on the pillow and laugh. I asked him how long they do this for, and he says until he plays dead and stops moving. I confronted my ex and told her what our son told me, and she said that it was just roughhousing and he is just sensitive because he was an only child, so he doesn't know how to play. Covering someone's face and sitting on them is not a game. This was not just boys being boys. She let out a huge annoyed sigh and said her boyfriend has his own way of raising boys and that since he lives there and not me, they run the house how they want. Her boyfriend took my son's phone because he was being disrespectful. I asked her to elaborate. My son didn't want to rub her boyfriend's feet as a chore. My son, under no circumstance, should ever have to touch someone he doesn't want to touch, and calling it a chore is predatory. As I'm saying all of this, her boyfriend comes around the corner laughing and says, "Ha ha ha, I don't know what you are moaning and groaning about. You don't live here. Don't come here making demands." Before I could respond, he said that I should just take my sissy of a son back to the trailer park because if he doesn't want to listen to the man of the house, he can go. I'm not taking my son from his mother, nor am I jealous that she is in a new relationship. My son needs his mom. He needs us both, but right now she isn't paying attention, and I mean that in the simplest terms. She is sex drunk. I filed for emergency custody, and today was our hearing. She came with her boyfriend and his kids. His mom didn't say a word to our son. She was laughing and playing with her boyfriend's boys while we waited. I had to sit and watch my son watch them with tears in his eyes. He asked me, "Mom has known me my whole life. Why is she picking them?" I had no response because I felt the exact same way. She didn't contest my custody, and I almost got in trouble myself because I asked her to get her head checked because she is acting like she might have a brain tumor. I installed a camera in my living room and caught my husband making out with the babysitter. I have been having suspicions for almost 4 months since I hired the 17-year-old babysitter for my 3-year-old daughter. I'm a nurse working full-time while he's working 3 nights a week and comes home to sleep during the day. I felt I was going crazy because something was off and he refused to ease my mind and answer questions I had. So I put a camera in the living room and saw nothing till day 4, where he and the babysitter were making out on the couch behind my daughter's back while she was watching TV. I feel like my entire world came crashing to the ground. I felt all kinds of negative feelings, including guilt, even though I just wanted to keep my job when he complained about pushing him to the side. He started crying when confronted, tried to get me to listen, but I took my daughter and went to stay with my mom. It's been a whole month now. The babysitter is gone and he's still crying about his slip up, even when it's for us to say the babysitter was the one initiating. I feel like I'm done with him after this. He managed to make me feel guilty for not dressing up or giving him enough attention. I do strongly believe I bear part of the blame in what happened. I feel disgusted and my mind and heart keep racing, not knowing how to deal with all of this. He's begging for a second chance and his family are defending him against me. I forgot to mention our ages. I'm 31 and he's 34. My 23 female boyfriend, 22 male, let his friend, 21 female, sleep in bed with us. My boyfriend and I are in love with each other, and he claims this was a huge mistake and promised me this would never happen again. But it's still eating away at me, and I'm not sure what to do about the situation. He has a friend, Lily, that has an unhealthy obsession with him. For some context, she crushed on him at a job they both worked at, and when he left for a different job, she followed him there and made it clear she wanted something more with him. My boyfriend and I did take a break last year for some months because we jumped into a relationship we weren't ready for. We are back together and exclusive. During our break, I know they did some things together, but he claims they never had full-blown intercourse. He says he regrets what he did with her, but does not have any feelings for her and truly wants to be with me. She still hates that we're dating. I've tried being nice and friendly to her, but she's intimidated by me and still does not like me. The last time the three of us were together, she wasn't able to drive home, so I offered to buy her an Uber, which she refused. After taking some time to herself, she came back in the room where my boyfriend and I were laying in bed, and she got into bed with us and ended up sleeping there. Not only that, but when I went to class the next day and came back, they were taking a nap in bed together. I was pissed. I know she slept in bed with him on our break, so I made it a clear boundary I did not want that to happen, no matter how much she claims it's just friendly. If she gets too messed up to go home, I said one of them needs to sleep on the couch and the other can sleep on the bed. After she left, I confronted him and asked why in the hell he let that happen. He said he just gave up on trying with her, and I said I don't care. He knows the boundary and that it can never happen again. I do believe he's telling the truth and that he really regrets that happened, but I need to hear some other advice. What should I ask him when I bring this up again?
Am I wrong for audibly saying bruh when my sister announced she was pregnant again? I, female 16, am a younger sister to Lori, 26, female. Me and Lori have never been close since we had different dads, and I was an affair baby, so she always resented me for ruining her family, but whatever. The thing is, Lori has 6 kids. Yes, 6. Twin boys Beck and Joe who are 7 and were planned. A girl, Liliana, who's 6 unplanned, another girl, Angel, who's 5 planned, another boy, Keith, who's 2 planned, and another baby boy, Carl, who's 9 months and not planned. Despite the fact that Lori is incapable of taking care of these kids, 4 of them were actually planned because she knows my pushover mom will give her money and watch the kids. My mom even quit her job to do so, even turning her workroom into a nursery for Carl. I will say we're pretty well off, but we can't do this forever. And listen, I try not to judge and just ignore Lori just like she does me. Am I wrong for audibly saying bruh when my sister announced she was pregnant again? I try not to judge and ignore, but I'm the one that always has to step in and help, especially with the twins. Well, tonight at dinner, Lori's boyfriend, father to Carl, as well as Lori's father ended up joining. I thought nothing of it until my sister said she had exciting news, and I wish she'd say something else, but I knew she was going to say I'm pregnant. And when she did, everybody was silent until I said, bruh. I didn't mean to say it out loud, but come on. Lori gave me a death stare and said if I wanted to say something, I should. I said, you know we can't keep supporting you. Without mom, you'd be on the street, and you know that. Look at mom, she's so tired. She's always taking care of your kids, and so am I. I bet that I've changed more diapers than you have, you selfish, B word. That's when she began to cry and ran out into her boyfriend's car and he followed her and drove. That's when my mom started to cry and went and put Carl back to bed since he woke up. And Lori's father yelled at me too. Am I wrong for warning my friend about my ex, who she's now engaged to, and telling her stop complaining when I warned her? I, 25 female, met Dave, 26 male, in college, and we dated and everything was great. So great that we got engaged and moved in together. Well, within 10 months, I realized he had a serious issue with self-gratification, laziness, and some other stuff. Well, Sue, 25 female, has been my friend for years and was supposed to be my maid of honor. She was upset about the breakup, but one day called and said Dave asked her out. This was a few months after the breakup. I'm not a gatekeeper, so I just said, Sue, he's not a great guy. You're like a sister to me, and I wouldn't want my sister involved in the same situation. I said, hey, I'm not perfect either, but the relationship was far from balanced and was so toxic, and the ring or apartment didn't help. She's a grown woman, so I said, do what you want, but I just needed to tell you. She said she understood, and a week later they were dating. Am I wrong for warning my friend about my ex, who she's now engaged to, and telling her to stop complaining when I warned her? I decided to remove myself. I blocked my ex and saw he messaged me on socials, but blocked and deleted all of it. Now it's a year and a half later. Side note, I caught my ex trying to mess with my birth control once, which made my sex drive and trust fall. He wants kids, yet can't bring himself to shower more than 1 in 3 days. She called me crying. They're now engaged with the ring I gave back to him, and she's pregnant. He doesn't help with the house and pays little on bills, and literally told her to go donate blood if she's worried about money. I let her cry for an hour about how he's lazy and refuses to work, his negative attitude, and how he's inappropriately texting bots online. She even retold stories that I told her of what he did to me. It felt numb to listen to it, and I just thank God it wasn't me. I said, I told you this would happen when you started dating, and she hung up, and it wasn't snappy, just honest. Am I wrong? Am I wrong for telling my wife not to worry about it when I gave my parents $10,000 for some dental work that my dad needed? I've been the sole breadwinner for my family since the beginning. I met my wife in university and she graduated but decided she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So she worked for a few years until we got married and she got pregnant, and she worked until a couple of months before a son was born, but then never returned to work. We have raised 3 kids together as a team. We've now managed to get the last one out of university and out of the house. My wife now spends her days gardening, walking our dogs, or taking care of the house. And every weekend she takes her parents grocery shopping. My parents are still very independent and do not require my physical help. She also subsidizes her parents' grocery bill to the tune of about $400 to $500 a month. And I know the prices have gone nuts and they're great people and it doesn't affect our budget, so I don't care. Well, my mom recently told me that my dad has been putting off some dental work. Am I wrong for telling my wife not to worry about it when I gave my parents $10,000 for dental work? She also subsidizes her parents' grocery bill to the tune of about $400 to $500 a month. I know that prices have gone nuts and they're great people and it doesn't affect our budget, so why would I care? My mom recently told me that my dad has been putting off some dental work he needs because it's way too expensive, even with insurance. So I decided to pay for it. Once again, it's not a big bite out of our savings and will not affect our budget. Well, my wife had a problem with me gifting my parents the money. I told her to relax and that it wasn't a big deal, and she said it's a big deal that we should have discussed first. So I asked her when we discussed buying her parents groceries or paying for her parents to come on vacation. That's when she got upset and said that she didn't realize I was keeping a score. I said I hadn't been until she brought up money. She responded saying it's different, but I don't think it is. Am I wrong?
Am I in the wrong for ending a family naming tradition by not giving my son my late nephew's name as his middle name, even though my sister has said that she wants me to? My family has always had this tradition where the first child born after the loss of someone in our family gets the late family member's name as their middle name. My sister and I both have those middle names. Hers is Patricia after a cousin of our mom's, and mine is Denise after my dad's aunt. Almost a year ago, my sister lost her 2-day-old son, Philip. He was the last family member we lost, and it was a huge, earth-shattering blow for our family. I found out that I was pregnant a few months ago. I waited a while to tell anyone, and my sister was the first person we told. When I told her, she said it would be nice to have some positive news to focus on, and that she wanted me to continue the tradition our family keeps and give my baby, if a boy, the middle name Philip. She was so happy about the idea. It surprised me a lot. I would have figured that she would not be okay with it, but she wanted it. The problem is, my husband and I do not want to continue the tradition. We do not want to give our son the middle name Philip. The name isn't one either of us likes or would ever pick ourselves. We have not announced the sex of our baby yet, but my husband and I know we're expecting a boy. My family was saying how amazing it'll be if my baby is a boy and Philip's name can be carried on. I suggested that they wait until we announce the sex and name before jumping to conclusions. They asked why, and I said that we were thinking of not continuing with the tradition. My family, and by that I mean my parents mostly, were really upset. My sister was the worst though. She asked why I wouldn't want to honor Philip and why it was him the tradition was getting broken on. She asked if I saw him as meaning so little, and I said no, of course not. Then she asked if it was his name and we didn't like it. She said that she really hoped it wasn't that. I said we just didn't feel like the tradition was something that we wanted to continue. The decision has brought up a lot of bad feelings, and my sister is especially angry and thinks I'm being insensitive and showing how little I care for my nephew. I feel terrible. She's so angry at me, and my parents are unhappy as well. My husband hates them for putting this pressure on us. He said we should be allowed to name our son what we want and we should not be obligated to use a certain name. I never wanted to be an a-hole, but my family believes that I am. So, am I in the wrong? Am I in the wrong for leaving my boyfriend when his ex died, leaving him to take care of his kids full time? I, female 26, have been with my boyfriend, male 30, for 2 years now. He has 2 kids, male 6, female 4, with his ex GF. She moved to another state with kids to be near her family when they broke up 3 years ago. He got them on vacations only. I knew all of this when I started dating him. I had no issue with this, but I told him upfront that I can't be a parent. I was parentified by my mom and raised my 5 younger siblings. The oldest of them was 6 years younger than me, and I had to change his diapers and feed him formula. I went low contact with my family when I left home at 18. I can't imagine doing that again. He was also snipped after the last kid and didn't want more kids. He was fine with me not wanting to be a parent and just be a bonus adult. We were taking it slow, and I didn't even meet his kids until a few months back. We took a trip together and got along great. Things changed 2 months ago when his ex died. Kids were really crushed as they moved into his house. We were not living together, but he asked if I could move in to help him out, just for a while. I couldn't refuse and stayed, but I started hating it again. I hated how clingy the kids became and how much responsibility I had. I did my best, but my mental health started getting worse every day. I didn't even get any help from my boyfriend because he was struggling too. Last week was especially bad since the younger kid had a cold and wanted me to nurse her back to health exactly as her mom would have. The soup wasn't the same, the song and story wasn't told the same way, I didn't hug her the way that her mom did, etc. Were some of the long list complaints. I know she's just grieving, but I was already working from home and stressed too. When I told my boyfriend that he should take over, he said that they need me more since I'm a mom. It triggered me. I didn't want to be held to a mom's responsibilities again. I told him that I can't do this. He said that I needed to stop acting like a child and step up. I understood if I stayed, my whole life would be like this. Never measuring up, never being enough, and all the responsibilities of a mom. I left yesterday, moved in with a friend. My boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, is blasting my phone calling me an a-hole. So, am I in the wrong?